US President Donald Trump will attack Iran with missiles again if Tehran does not agree to sign a nuclear deal in the coming days. Axios reports that US Central Command has prepared a plan for a short and powerful wave of strikes against Iran, which will, of course, include infrastructure targets, in hopes of finally overcoming the deadlock in negotiations and forcing Iran to capitulate. These are the plans that the American military presented to Donald Trump today at a closed meeting. And it was right after this that Trump publicly stated that a peace agreement with Iran is unrealistic in the near future and will not be signed, because another strike should be carried out on Tehran so that they finally stop playing games there. But an even more alarming signal appeared. The United States Central Command requested permission, a decision to deploy Dark Eagle hypersonic missiles to the Middle East for strikes against Iran. This is a powerful weapon which, by the way, has never appeared there before. And the thing is, these missiles surpass those that the US has previously used for attacks on Iran. Meanwhile, oil prices have broken all records again and reached $126 per barrel. My name is Alexei Pechi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave any comment below. I would be grateful for that. And also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News. The link is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as it comes in. So in Washington, they have decided to return to military strikes against Iran since Tehran flatly refuses to sign the nuclear agreement. According to Axios sources, US President Donald Trump received a briefing on new potential military action plans in Iran from the commander of US Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper. Although Trump himself pretends that the US has supposedly decided not to attack Iran anymore, but to focus on a blockade instead. But just yesterday, I explained here on this YouTube channel why this blockade is dangerous for Donald Trump himself. Admiral Cooper's briefing itself indicates that Trump is seriously considering the possibility of resuming major military actions, either to try to break the deadlock in negotiations or to deliver a decisive blow before the end of the war. It is reported that the US Central Command has prepared a plan for a short and powerful wave of strikes against Iran, which will include infrastructure targets in the hope of breaking the deadlock in negotiations. There is hope that after this, Iran will finally return to the negotiating table, showing more flexibility on the nuclear issue. Another plan that was presented to Donald Trump aims to seize part of the Hormuz Strait to restore commercial shipping through it. According to one of the sources, such an operation may involve the use of ground troops. The point is that the US may land special forces on the coast of Iran to push back the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and thus open the Strait of Hormuz for the Gulf countries while maintaining the blockade of Iran itself. Another option that was previously discussed and has been proposed to Trump again is a US Special Forces operation to secure Iran's stockpiles of highly enriched uranium. Basically, the Special Forces would have to seize that highly enriched uranium. Although publicly, Trump stated that he considers a naval blockade of Iran to be more effective than bombings. But if Iran does not yield under the pressure of the blockade, then Trump is considering the possibility of resuming military action. And here, American military planners are also considering the possibility that Iran might take military action against American forces in the region in response to the blockade. They say we'll definitely have to respond in that case. And here I want to highlight a very important point. Admiral Brad Cooper held a similar briefing for Donald Trump on February 26, just 2 days before the start of the war by the US and Israel against Iran. And at that time I said that if Cooper was called to the White House, then something was definitely about to start. So, this became a signal that if Trump calls Cooper for a briefing, who is the direct commander of the forces stationed in the Middle East, it means that escalation lies ahead. And then some very interesting information appears. The United States Central Command requested permission to deploy Dark Eagle hypersonic missiles to the Middle East for possible strikes against Iran. According to sources, representatives of the command justified the need for this step by saying that Tehran has moved its launchers beyond the range of precision missiles capable of hitting targets at distances of more than 500 kilometers. Now, the US military needs a system with a longer range to destroy Iranian launchers. And now, against the backdrop of the briefing to Trump, Central Command expects that the Trump administration and the Pentagon will still approve their request. If this happens, it will mean that the US will deploy hypersonic weapons for the first time, which have not yet even been put into full operation. In addition to achieving objectives in Iran, this step is also meant to send a signal to Russia and China that the US possesses advanced military technologies. And here I'll explain why this is so important. The range of the Dark Eagle missile is about 2,700 kilometers. The missile is capable of reaching speeds over 6,100 kilometers per hour and can maneuver to evade air defense systems. The cost of one such missile is estimated at about $15 million. And the request to send hypersonic missiles to the conflict zone came amid the ceasefire between the US and Iran that has been in effect since April 9th. And earlier, Trump rejected Tehran's plan to end the war and open the Hormuz Strait, since Tehran intended to postpone discussions of the country's nuclear program until later. The head of the White House ordered preparations for a prolonged naval blockade of Iran, expecting that pressure on the country's economy, including restrictions on oil exports, would force them to comply. Well, in the meantime, the market is in turmoil again. On Thursday, the price of oil briefly exceeded $126 per barrel, reaching its highest level in 4 years, as some traders fear an escalation between the US and Iran. Let me just remind you that before Trump's war against Iran, the price of Brent crude oil was $73 per barrel. Today, it jumped above $126. At the same time, the average price of gasoline in the US on Thursday reached a 4-year high of $4.3 per gallon. Economists are now warning that if oil supply disruptions last into the second half of the year, it could trigger a global recession. Some countries are already suffering from fuel shortages, rising inflation, and declining consumer spending, and things could get even worse. That's why, as they say, Trump has every reason to hurry. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel and like this episode. And friends, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate it. You can do this with any donation or a paid membership using the links and details in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on your screens. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Watch yourselves. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles.